Alrighty, guys. So, who has the strongest hook on earth in the sport of arm wrestling? That's a question that I want to dive into today because at the end of the day, when you look at the top 10 overall arm wrestlers on earth at the moment, there is an inclination towards outside pullers. Levan Saganishvili, Vitaly Laletin, they're all dominant outside pullers. Hermes Gasparini, even Devin Larratt, although he can go inside, still predominantly an outside puller. This begs the question, who on earth is the world's strongest hook puller? Honestly, the first name that comes to mind that is exclusively a hook puller, that is the highest on the list, for me, is Todd Hutchings. I think Todd Hutchings is the only person in that top 10 in the world, and I do think he is top 10 in the world at the moment. He's the only person that truly intends on every match to go to a hook. He doesn't run from a hook from anyone, and his elbow conditioning is at a level where it truly is best in class. Now, the question is then, could Levan beat Todd Hutchings in a hook? Could Vitaly Laletin beat Todd Hutchings in a hook? And when I say hook, I'm talking supinating, staying supinated, and actually refusing to move from there. I'm talking no pronation, no high rolling, no can opening, nothing like that. Who can go into a hook, a fully supinated hook, with Todd Hutchings and come out the other side of victory? Now, there is a few names that you have to straight away acknowledge. Rustam Babayev beat Todd Hutchings. Rustam Babayev is a hooker. This is a number of years ago. Interestingly, I think he defeated Todd with speed and explosivity, and he disengaged Todd's hook before Todd was able to get into the grind. I do think that Todd Hutchings is a stronger hooker in a slow pull over Rustam. I believe he has a better elbow, but Rustam's explosivity was amazing that day. And interestingly, I don't think that Rustam Babayev could beat the same people that Todd Hutchings could in a hook. So if we're lining up everyone, like I said, I have to acknowledge the outlier that is Rustam Babayev over Todd Hutchings 3-4 years ago, or whatever it was. I do think, however, like I said, that Todd Hutchings has evolved and has gone even further, and I don't think Todd Hutchings would lose to Rustam if they faced again. Devin Larratt is an amazing hooker, but again, if you look at their matches that they had in the WAL, particularly the early rounds, when it went into a hook, Devin could not move Todd. Devin did win in a hook in the later rounds once Todd was gassed, but peak force, early rounds, in a hook, Devin was very much using the King's move. So, Krasimir Kostadinov, another great hooker, exclusive hook puller, but Todd Hutchings never had a drum with him. Todd Hutchings never had a drum with Sasha Andreev. Jerry Catarette is the other man you've got to think about and you've got to consider. Jerry obviously beat Todd last time they faced in the WAL. Jerry is an inside puller, but Jerry finished Todd with presses. Now, the press is very closely associated to the hook. And I do think that the hook is slightly different. I don't know with certainty that Jerry could beat Todd in a hook. If they just stayed there and they didn't move out of it and they just ground in the hook, supinated, if Jerry didn't press. But look, I do think that the press and the hook are so closely related and intertwined that you have to say Jerry's right there in the debate. I do think that Jerry Catarette and Todd Hutchings are neck and neck, with Todd, for me, slightly ahead on the hook specialty itself. Jerry obviously ahead in the press regard. Todd Hutchings does not have a press. He's all in on the hook. But then when I think about the list, I ask myself the question, okay, Vitaly Laletin and Levan Saganishvili up against Todd Hutchings in the strap in a hook. What happens? There's a part of me that says, look, of course, there's only one thing that happens, and that's Levan and Vitaly just pin Todd Hutchings. But first things first is I want to rule out Vitaly Laletin. I don't think that Vitaly Laletin could stay supinated against Todd Hutchings at all. And pin. I think Vitaly Laletin would have to roll high and would be able to roll high. But I think if it was a tight strap and it was dug down in a hook, and that's where we started, I don't think Todd Hutchings loses to Vitaly Laletin. Of course, there's Dave Chaffee as well. We will get to Levan, but Dave Chaffee is someone who he is just, again, I don't consider him a hooker, and he doesn't stay supinated in a hook as well. I do think that if he had to stay in a hook, I don't think he could beat Todd Hutchings. Again, it's the back pressure and pronation of someone like Chaffee that would defeat someone like Todd. I don't think he has the elbow conditioning to stay supinated against Todd Hutchings. And then the final man we need to ask the question of is Levan Saginashvili. Could he beat Todd Hutchings in a hook? It's that I start to now think maybe yes. I think the sheer mass and strength that Levan possesses, even though I do believe that Todd Hutchings' elbow is conditioned more superior than Levan's. I do think so. I really genuinely think that Todd's elbow stability in a supinated side pressure position, I believe it is better than Levan's. But I believe the accompanying surrounded strength is so significant in Levan that he wouldn't necessarily need to have the greater elbow integrity. He's got so much more back pressure, so much more wrist flexion, so much more just presence, pec presence, shoulder presence. They're all things that are very critical. Now, I do believe that Levan could get the job done. I don't think he could just surge through Todd. I think Todd would put a stop in place, but I think that Todd would be overwhelmed in about the 5 to 7 second range of Levan. Again, staying supinated, I think Levan could, because of his big hand and wrist flexion, he could grip so hard, he could supinate so hard that it would twist the hand of Todd Hutchings away from him and eventually disengage him. And then with an entire body presence, Levan could just move sideways and get the pin. So end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, I think Levan Saginashvili is the strongest hook puller in the world. And I have Todd Hutchings as second. But that's pretty badass anyway. For someone as, let's call it small, I don't mean to be insulting Todd, but a small man relative to the people that are on the list in the overall world ranks. For a man Todd Hutchings' size to be that good in the hook is pretty damn phenomenal. And I think it's pretty awesome. Anyone wants to volunteer a hook start tournament, obviously Todd is going to do well. I don't think we're going to see it anytime soon, but it's nice to theorize on these things. Todd Hutchings, keep climbing that ladder, sir. We want to see you take on everyone. We want to see you force hooks on everyone. And I want to see you at least strap up with someone like Vitaly Lelettin and just see how bad that looks. All right, guys.